Welcome back to the Prince Armory Academy, where we reveal how to take fantasy concepts and craft them into reality. And in this tutorial, we'll be going over how to build the Berserker Hound Helmet in leather. This video is made with support from Weaver Leather Supply. To build this helmet, we'll be using Herman Oak 7 to 8 ounce vegetable tan leather, which has some nice properties to help us with shaping and forming the leather. You'll also need a small quantity of thin to medium leather. I've already measured out the size that I'll need for this project. If you would like to make this project yourself, you can pick up the pattern or the full suit bundle at the Prince Armory Academy. This bundle is also included in our new apprentice program. More on that in a future video. These patterns will come with 2 versions. One will be a PDF that you can print at home and cut by hand, and the other version will be a SVG for laser cutting. For the hand cutting version, you will simply print the PDF with any common printer at home. In this case, I'll be cutting out the parts of this project with a laser. I've recently partnered with Eon Laser USA, and this is the Nova 16 130 watt CO2 laser. I'm currently putting this machine and the Filter Box Expand 3 fume extractor through their paces with these active projects. This machine features an autofocus, and I'll use this to set the proper height of the cutting bed. I'm looking forward to doing a deep dive on this soon, as well as an overview and many tips on how to cut leather with a laser. And you can drop a comment if you have any questions about using a laser cutter below. And in the meanwhile, I'll drop a link in the description if you'd like to learn more. But so far, they've been incredible to work with. I'm taping the corners of the edge of the leather to keep it from moving around, just to make sure the job will fit within the material constraints. Using the frame command and light burn will cause the head to trace around the outside of the cut areas. The bed size of the Nova 16 is amazing to work with. I can't wait to cut out the full breastplate and other large parts on it in one go. I have the laser set to a lower power and a faster speed to lightly mark the reference lines. Cutting leather with a laser puts out a lot of smoke and fumes, and the Nova 16 does come with an exhaust so you can vent it outside, but in my case I'm using the Expand 3 fume extractor by Filter Box. This way I'm not dumping it onto my neighbors or venting out our cool conditioned air. When it is finished cutting, I can open the lid and double check that the parts cut all the way through. Looks like I needed to have the speed just a little bit slower. I should also switch the lens to a longer focal length, but I'll do that in the next video. Since I previously taped down the corners to hold the leather in place, it should not have moved any when checking the leather, and I can simply turn off the marking layers and light burn since we don't need to score the reference lines again, and just run the external cut lines again. If the leather hasn't moved, another cut pass should follow the lines exactly. You'll also need a small quantity of thin to medium leather, somewhere in the 4 to 6 ounce range for the inner straps of the helmet. For the internal straps of the helmet, I'm using a pre-dyed piece of supple leather. At this point, I'll turn the parts over to Ashley. When cutting leather with a laser, you'll normally want to clean up the burned edges, and you'll need to wet the leather at this stage anyway to prepare it for shaping and tooling. Cleanup can easily be done with something abrasive like a Scotch-Brite pad. And you can wipe away any other residue with a paper towel. We will also be edge beveling the pieces, but mostly on the other sides. We're leaving the top edges crisp and sharp this time for aesthetic reasons. Now we can move on to shaping the leather. One of the main reasons we use vegetable tan leather is because it allows us to wet the leather to make it soft, and then to shape it, and when it dries, it will maintain its final shape. Our first goal will be to make these raised fluted areas and recessed creases. I do have a guide for how to do all of this by hand, but for this video, I'm going to use a new iteration of the embossing wheel that I designed and introduced previously on the Berserker Gauntlets video. These embossing wheels will create a crease or a raised flute into the leather depending on the orientation of the wheels. This experimental design ended up being a huge win, and I'm excited to share how to build this yourself. If you're interested, I will have a video guide coming along shortly, and I already have the STL file for the embossing wheel available at the Academy. And again, if you don't want to build this tool, complete video instructions are also included with the bundle for how to shape leather by hand and how to get the fluting techniques. The numerous plates for the helmet core are very easy to shape and decorate. Each plate is run through the embossing wheels to raise the fluted areas first. This is every bit as satisfying as it looks, by the way. The fluting wheels are a huge time saver, but they don't do everything. You will probably still want to clean up and reinforce some of the lines and shapes by planishing with a hammer. Most of the pieces that make up the helmet core should be dished a little to help with the final shape. There are many options to achieve the striated texture seen throughout the armor. In this case, we'll be using a bone folder and a swivel knife. For the Berserker suit project, we're using Phoebing's Black Pro Oil dye. For the finish, we'll be using Weaver's Clear Tough Coat. Giving the pieces a little extra soak time will firm up the leather more when it dries. And after the parts are dry, you can knock down the gloss a bit if you want by using a Scotch-Brite pad, and a sander can speed up the process a bit. Now we'll move on to the assembly of the core of the helmet first, and when I refer to the core, it means part A and B that make up the faceplate will be left out for now. For the hardware, we'll mostly use double-capped rivets. For all of the leather, rivets, and most of the other tools on this project, please check the link in the description to stock up for your own next project from Weaver Leather Supply. The pieces of the helmet are labeled from A to L. The easiest way to assemble the core is from back to front, starting with L, ending with part C. Each strap will have a geometric shape on it to help keep track of where the parts go. The last few pieces have smaller retainer straps to allow for a little bit of flexibility at the bottom plates of the helmet. As you assemble the bottom tailpiece, you can improve the shape of the helmet by giving the base a little bit of a flare. After the tail pieces are assembled, you'll rivet the pieces to each other along the side. The process is the same all the way up. Just rivet along the central retaining straps first, and then rivet to the sides of the helmet, one layer at a time. Just as a side note here, I designed the side pieces in a way that you can slip something between the panels and stretch open a small space between each layer. This will improve the hearing capabilities when the helmet is worn. Once the core is assembled, you can refine the shape of the helmet over a forming stake or work it from the inside with a hand tool. This might be a good time to add that if the tools and techniques that we are using seem too advanced, I would remind and encourage you to check out our beginner lessons to learn alternatives to many tools and techniques. I'll pop back in here to shape the faceplate pieces part A and B. I'll start again by using the guidelines to raise all of the fluted areas. Keep in mind that the moisture content matters when embossing or tooling leather. If it's too soggy, it's not going to hold its shape. If it's too dry, it's not going to accept a new shape to begin with. When you approach lines that turn abruptly, you can release the pressure on the embossing wheels and reposition the leather in a new direction. In some cases, you can start the line and reverse it back to avoid distorting existing lines. I'll reverse the wheels when I'm ready to run the creased lines. To enhance the false layer that exists on the front piece, I'll bevel the lines here using one of the prototype 3D printed bevelers. And to help finesse the shape further, I'll be using some of the 3D printed shaping forms underneath. We've got videos for both of these up on the channel. A slicking tool with a fine point also comes in handy. To crisp up the sharp shape at the front of the helmet, I'll hammer these edges over themselves. The 3D printed shaping blocks that I released previously will also be very helpful in shaping parts of this helmet and other parts in the full suit. At this point, I'm loosely assembling parts A and B so that I can start the final shaping process for the faceplate. From here, I'll continue to tweak the shape according to visual preference. You can refer to the finished result of this project when fine-tuning your own designs, or you can use the manga reference, or you can even come up with something new. As the leather dries, it will continue to firm up, which you can use to your advantage when forming pieces with complex shapes. For all of the leather, rivets, and most of the other tools in this project, please check the link in the description to stock up for your own next project from Weaver Leather Supply. I'll turn the faceplate back over to Ashley to continue with the texture. If you want to see the rest of this series, please subscribe now and turn on notifications. And while you're waiting for the next video, go ahead and check out some of the other ones in the Berserker series. We would also love to see you in our Discord server. We've got a huge community of makers and artists making very cool things. When cutting out the pieces, I scored the eyes to cut most of the way through, but I waited until the end so that it would be a little bit easier to shape the faceplate as one piece, instead of risking overstretching the delicate internal lines. This helmet is one of many parts that go into the full Berserker suit. If you would like to make this project yourself, you can pick up the pattern or the full suit bundle at the Prince Armory Academy. The default size on these patterns will fit around a 22 to 23 inch head. To ensure fit, you can always make an affordable foam mock-up prior to committing leather to the project. See our last video for instructions on how to make this in foam. When designing the patterns, I try to target sizing to be one size fits most, but our patterns can also be scaled to fit any size. There are a few variables that will affect the scale, such as the shape of your head, volume of hair, whether you pad the helmet or wear an arming cap, and even the extent to which you shape or wet form the leather can make a difference, so it's always wise to make a mock-up first. This project is mostly suitable for intermediate to advanced leather crafters. This project does not have a lot of fancy decorative details though. Most of the hard work is already done with the design itself, so if you're a complete beginner, we do have many free and affordable resources at our academy to get you up to speed and ready to craft this project in no time. Feel the surface, just so you get an idea. All this does is just make it a little bit more pliable and make it a little bit more permanent once you set it. You see how it's like a little bit more gummy? Kind of sticks. Let it dry like that.